It's time again for another installment of The Basics, and on today's show I want to continue where I left off on yesterday's show about this version of Magic the Gathering that I've just created. And I have to show you a few issues with this and things you need to keep an eye on when you're playing it. So let's get started, shall we? Now, on yesterday's show I mentioned that this is a new game I've created, and I was working out the kinks in this Magic the Gathering Solitaire. And there's a few issues that I want to elaborate on and things you have to really pay attention to even though you're playing by yourself. Number one, life totals. As I mentioned yesterday, I have 1d20 for my own life total and 1d20 for my opponent's life total. Because you're managing both life totals, the thing that I've accidentally done already in 2 games, I've accidentally taken from my own life total instead of my opponent's. And it left me confused because at one point I dealt 4 damage to my opponent. I took it from mine without thinking and asked myself, why am I already down to 12? I should be at 16. Pay close attention to the dice and the life totals and make sure you're not taking or adding from the wrong one. Number 2, creatures from your opponent's deck. Now, I mentioned this briefly yesterday, but creatures that come up on your opponent's deck that go into play, they cannot be put into the discard pile until they're defeated by one of your creatures or instants or enchantments or whatever. This also goes for any artifact card that comes up or any card in general that enhances a creature that adds to the attack and defend. Unless they're nullified, they can't go in the discard pile. They have to stay out till they're defeated. This creates the battlefield effect as if you were battling a friend of yours who is another planeswalker sitting across the table from you. The third issue, and I don't have one out at the moment because I'm only a few turns into this round, but as I mentioned yesterday, if you draw a card from your own draw deck or you already have one in your hand that deals with doing damage or destroying one of your opponent's land, because your second deck, i.e. that, does not contain any land, you are allowed to discard that card into the discard pile right away. You don't need any cards that do any damage to land, so feel free to toss one per turn. You don't necessarily need to draw another card either because you're already doing that on your normal turn near the end. You're drawing one card. But anything that does damage to land is pointless in this game, so toss it and focus on other aspects of the game. And finally, the tapping and untapping phase that goes with the mana pool. I've noticed it's a lot, because the game's going quicker, because you're controlling the whole game yourself, it's actually really easy to forget to tap and untap and manage your mana pool or do anything with your upkeep. So keep a close eye on that as well. I'm hopefully going to refine this a bit as I go along, especially when I complete this game. I'll let people know what happened. But so far, it's actually pretty enjoyable. And now that I'm playing with 2 power decks, as you've noticed, yesterday I used a, not pictured, but I had my weak white deck as my opponent just to try it out. Now I've switched to the power deck, so it's getting interesting. Now, this is very much still a work in progress, but if anybody has any input or questions, or if they want to see something specific about how this game works, or give me an idea of what I should include in this game or take away from it, please let me know. Put a comment below, like, subscribe, whatever, but let me know what's going on and what you think of my Magic the Gathering version of Solitaire. Have a great day, everybody.